Welcome to today's Explainer. Okay, so today we're looking at a morning chore that you probably did, or let's be real, maybe skipped, this very morning, making your bed. Now, what if I told you that something this seemingly insignificant could actually be the catalyst for world-changing resilience? It sounds crazy, but we're going to dive into Admiral William McRaven's legendary lessons today to see exactly how surviving extreme conditions and life's hardest challenges actually begins right there in your bedroom.
I mean, it sounds like a joke, right? Can a tucked-in sheet really change the world? When we think of Navy SEALs, we picture battle-hardened warriors, insane physical endurance, and incredibly high-stakes missions. You definitely don't think of housekeeping. But the philosophy we're exploring today suggests that surviving our absolute toughest obstacles actually starts with mastering the smallest controllable variable in your day. Admiral McRaven makes this amazing point that whether you ever wear a military uniform or not, our human struggles are fundamentally the same. And that very first step in changing ourselves and ultimately the world around us starts with this one simple daily act.
So let's break down how they do it, because the level of precision required here is just fascinating. Every single morning in SEAL training, the instructors, who are all Vietnam veterans at the time, would meticulously inspect the trainees' barracks. And we're not just talking about a quick, casual tidy-up. No way. The corners had to be perfectly square, covers pulled super tight, the pillows centered exactly under the headboard, and an extra blanket neatly folded at the foot of the rack. Honestly, it's a pretty mundane task, but completing this one mundane task to absolute perfection sets a trajectory of success for your whole day. It gives you this small sense of pride right out of the gate, which, encourages you to complete another task, then another. That tiny spark of discipline reinforces the fact that the little things in life actually matter a lot. Because think about it, if you can't do the little things right, how will you ever be able to do the big things right? But here's what I think is the most empathetic part of this entire philosophy. Life is just hard sometimes. You're inevitably going to have those miserable days where absolutely nothing goes your way. And when that happens, well, you get to come home to a perfectly made bed, a bed that you made. That visual proof of a completed task gives you the psychological encouragement you really need to realize that tomorrow will be better. So, exactly like the quote says, if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
Now, having that individual discipline of making your bed is great, but it's really just the foundation. Let's talk about how this scales up to the absolute necessity of teamwork. During SEAL training, students are broken down into boat crews of 7 to tackle the brutal, freezing 8 to 10-foot winter surf off the coast of San Diego. You literally cannot paddle through that plunging surf unless every single person digs in equally, completely synchronized to their guide. You simply can't change the world alone. Now, in McRaven's class, they were eventually whittled down to just 6 crews. He was in the boat with the tall, physically imposing guys. But the crew that consistently outperformed everyone else, it was this incredibly diverse group famously dubbed the Munchkin Crew.
5'5". That was the maximum height of anyone in the Munchkin crew. This amazing crew included an American Indian, an African American, a Polish American, a Greek American, an Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. The big guys would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins had to put on their feet. But somehow, these little guys always had the last laugh. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam everyone. You see, SEAL training is a massive equalizer. It proves that if you really want to make an impact, you have to measure people by the size of their heart, not by their physical stature. Just like the quiet dedication it takes to square a bed corner perfectly, it's that inner focus that ultimately wins out over outward appearances. Of course, having a lot of heart doesn't mean life is going to be fair. Take the sugar cookie punishment, for example. Several times a week, instructors would conduct these exceptionally thorough uniform inspections. Your hat had to be perfectly starched, your belt buckle impeccably shiny. But listen to this. No matter how much effort you put in, the instructors would always find something wrong. And the punishment? You'd have to run fully clothed right into the freezing ocean surf and then roll around on the beach until every single part of your body was entirely covered in sand. You were a sugar cookie. And then you had to stay cold, wet, and sandy for the rest of the day. The lesson? Sometimes, no matter how perfectly you prepare your uniform or your life, you still end up a sugar cookie. Life is inherently unfair, and you just have to get over it and keep moving forward.
And the punishments certainly didn't stop at uniform inspections. Oh no. Every day was packed with physical events tied to strict time standards. If you failed to meet those times, your name went on a dreaded list for something called the circus. Now, this was 2 hours of additional, excruciating calisthenics at the end of an already exhausting day. It was specifically designed to wear you down, to completely break your spirit, and basically force you to quit.
Literally no one wanted a circus because it meant more fatigue, which pretty much guaranteed that the next day was going to be even harder.
Naturally, everyone eventually made the circus lists. But then something really fascinating started happening to the students who were constantly failing and ending up on that list day after day. Over time, those specific students actually got stronger and stronger. By enduring these painful daily failures, they were reaping some totally unexpected psychological and physical benefits. The intense pain of the circuses built this immense inner strength and physical resiliency. Look, life is going to be filled with circuses and failures for all of us. But if you want to change the world, don't be afraid of them. They're actively preparing you for the future.
Speaking of the future, eventually, you have to take some calculated risks to move forward. Take the Slide for Life obstacle. Picture a 200-foot rope strung between a 30-foot tower and a lower tower. For years, the standard, safe way to do this was to swing underneath the rope and just inch your way across hand over hand. The course record seemed completely unbeatable. Until one day, this trainee decided to just ignore the conventional slow method entirely. He bravely mounts the top of the rope, throws himself forward, and slides down perilously fast, completely head first. It was dangerous for sure and fraught with risk. But you know what? He broke that long-standing record by half the time. Sometimes playing it safe just guarantees mediocrity. You gotta slide down the obstacles head first.
Now, sliding down a rope is one kind of risk, but what in the world do you do when a great white shark starts circling you? During the land warfare phase, trainees are actually sent to San Clemente Island, where the waters just so happen to be a massive breeding ground for great white sharks. To pass, they have to complete this long night swim, and the instructors joyfully brief them on all the sharks right before they get in the water. So put yourself in their flippers. You're in the freezing, pitch-black ocean, and a massive shark actually starts circling your position. What is the protocol here?
The official advice is surprisingly direct. Punch him in the snout. Seriously, you're taught that you absolutely must stand your ground. Do not swim away. Do not act afraid. If that shark darts towards you for a midnight snack, you summon every ounce of your strength and punch it right in the snout, and it'll turn and swim away. The lesson here goes way, way beyond the ocean. There are a lot of sharks in the real world, bullies, massive obstacles, terrifying situations. If you hope to complete your swim through life, you cannot back down from the sharks. You just have to face them head on.
That kind of resilience builds to even darker, more intense challenges, like underwater ship attacks. Imagine this terrifying journey. First, a pair of divers drops right outside an enemy harbor. Second, they have to swim over 2 miles entirely underwater using nothing but a compass and a depth gauge. At first, ambient light from the moon and street lamps offers a tiny bit of comfort. But as you get closer to the massive steel structure of the targeted ship, it blocks out all the light. By the time you reach the ship's keel, which is the deepest centerline part of the ship, you are in total, absolute darkness. You literally cannot see your hand in front of your face, and the deafening noise of the ship's machinery is incredibly disorienting.
Hanging out underneath that keel is the most critical point of the entire mission, and it's physically the darkest place you could be. Every SEAL knows that at this specific moment, when you are blind and deafened by the machinery, you must remain absolutely calm and composed. All of your tactical skills, your physical power, and your inner strength have to be brought to bear right then and there. When life's circumstances look their absolute bleakest, when you are completely disoriented by hardship, that is precisely the moment you have to step up. And the calm you need in this incredibly dark moment, it's built on those tiny disciplines you practice every single day, like perfectly squaring the corners of your bed when you wake up.
And speaking of dark moments, absolutely nothing tests a person quite like Hell Week. We're talking 6 straight days of zero sleep with constant mental and physical harassment. But the climax of the whole thing comes on Wednesday at the Tijuana Mudflats. Trainees paddle into this swampy patch of terrain where the freezing mud completely engulfs them right up to their necks. They spend 15 agonizing hours just trying to survive the freezing cold, the howling wind, and the relentless pressure from instructors who are actively urging them to just quit.
During McRaven's Hell Week, as the sun went down and the cold really set in, the chattering teeth and shivering moans of the man were just deafening. Some students were clearly right on the edge of giving up. The instructors even offered a deal. If just 5 men quit, everyone could leave the mud. But then, out of nowhere, one voice began to echo through the night. One trainee started singing. Now, the song was terribly out of tune, but it was sung with incredible enthusiasm. One voice became 2, then 2 became 3, until literally the whole class was singing. The instructors threatened them with even more mud time, but the singing persisted. And somehow the mud seemed just a little bit warmer, the wind a little tamer, and dawn wasn't so far away. One person's off-key song gave the entire group the profound hope they needed to survive the night.
Throughout all of this extreme pain, the sugar cookies, the circuses, the freezing mudflats, there is always an easy way out. The bell. Hanging right in the center of the compound for everyone to see is a simple brass bell. All a trainee has to do to completely escape the freezing cold, the brutal early mornings, and the sheer agony of training is just walk up and ring it. Ringing the bell means you instantly quit. It's the ultimate temptation, always within reach, offering an immediate, painless exit from all your hardships.
Which brings us to our final provocative question for you to take away from this explainer today. Will you ring the bell? Or will you make your bed? The big takeaway here isn't just about military toughness, right? It's about the everyday mechanics of human resilience. If you really want to change the world, never, ever ring the bell. Start each day by completing one small task. Find someone to help you paddle. Embrace the hard fact that life just isn't fair sometimes, and whatever you do, don't back down from the sharks. It all starts with making your bed and never giving up. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope it gave you something incredible to think about.